Hello, everybody. It is Sunday, January 23rd. It's 2011. This is Day 9 Daily 245. Once again, I earned this ice water. Actually, recently when trying to get my ice cubes out of my ice tray, the ice tray snapped in half. Which is cool because now we have two ice trays. It's actually so much easier to get the ice out now. Should split more things in half. And I should also make sure I don't pour the water directly onto my shirt. In very exciting news, I shaved literally 15 minutes ago, and it hurt. Oh, God, did that sting. Because I got out of the shower, and of course, because I'm your regular gamer, I got out, and I had my towel around my waist, and I said, let me just check that form really fast. Started reading that, and oh, that makes me, I need to look that person up on Wikipedia. And this totally reminds me of a funny YouTube link, and then my face is dry, and then when I shave it feels like I'm being mauled by a bear, really. So it's a little red, it's a little ow. Ooh, man, it actually feels just as bad as it looks. But in terms of the exciting news, Day 9 Daily number 100 just passed 1 million views on YouTube. Yeah! That's the daily where I talk all about how Starcraft is so awesome. And what my life was like growing up playing it, my entire life of competitive gaming. You should check it out if you have not. And if anyone you know has not checked it out, including, I don't know, members of your local church, perhaps a pool club you go to, just totally link them to the daily. It's going to be awesome. But in perhaps less than exciting news, community, dearest Starcraft community, I am competitive and I need your help. On the ShortyAwards.com, which is basically this, it's like a Twitter-based voting system for a ton of different categories in government and politics and entertainment and social media, gaming, which is the one that I'm running for. I just kind of thought it would be cool to win a Shorty Award, because, like, all the other people are really important, and I was like, ooh, cool, it'd be awesome if I could be up there, too. Like, in government, like, the second place person is Barack Obama. It's like, President of the United States, and I'm like, come on, if I can win gaming. The unfortunate thing is that my competitor, Adam Montoya, who, I think it's his name, he has, like, 500,000 YouTube subscribers, and he put a video on his YouTube, selfishly so. Ugh. So he immediately got like 2,500 votes overnight. So I am in second place, and I want to win. Oh, I want to win so bad. Oh, I have no idea why. I just get a piece of glass, and I get to go to this like place in New York where they hand it to me, and video games. And of course, if I go there, I'll naturally just talk about how StarCraft is awesome and how people need to stop playing sports after school and join their local SC team. Yeah. But I was wondering if you'd be so kind as to do the following. Go to Twitter.com, get a Twitter account, and follow me. That's Day9TV, DAY9TV. And then go to ShortyAwards.com, go to gaming, and vote for me. And you have to put a reason or it doesn't count your vote. Please, if you'd be so kind, get all your friends to do it, get all the members of your local church to do it, all those people at the pool club, everyone. Oh, God, I want to win so bad because he has 500,000 YouTube subscribers, but I have 100,000 cooler YouTube subscribers. Ugh. Unless you subscribe to him as well, which I'll let slide this time. But, seriously, troops, it's time to go to arms because it's 10 more days. 10 more days? It's the 23rd, so that's 7 more days. I guess 8, because January has 31 days, and then the voting is done. I got the fear in me. But other than that, everything's pretty normal in the world of Day 9. I'll make them Fun Day Monday and Newbie Tuesday announcements at the end of this daily because I want to go ahead and do the daily instead of keep doing announcements. So, now let us only talk about StarCraft-related things in the form of a story. Once upon a time, there was a boy named Day 9 who loved watching StarCraft videos, such as the GSL live at 2 in the morning, as inconvenient as it may be, because Day 9 was quite a passionate nerd who not only loved to see his favorite players win, but also loved to see ways in which people win at this game. Without giving any spoilers, this little boy, Day 9, recently saw an amazing Terran vs. Terran play on Xel'Naga Caverns. Basically, this was the structure of it. One of the players went predominantly infantry, like expand and infantry. The other player went for your usual expand and tech. You know, the Banshee Harass getting a lot of tanks. But the infantry player embraced his mobility. He expanded 4 or 5 times when his opponent was still on 2 bases. Like mass Marines. and Marauders. Huge numbers, incredible mobility. The other player went for muscle, big amounts of tanks and Marines and medevacs, and it was a very fancy, fun, cool, dynamic game. Now, I'm sure that many of you have a story similar to this for yourself, where you watch a game, and it's not just a cool match that excites you, right? That's fun to watch because of who won and lost and the struggle in between. It's cool because you watch it and you think, I did not know people could play that way. And you think to yourself, man, I want to learn more about that. I want to figure this out. For me, this Terran vs. Terran that I saw got me excited about the whole matchup. And I was like, wow! I mean, it seems like it would be hard to do on other maps, but on Xel'Naga Caverns, that whole mass marining style, I got to investigate this more. I really, really, really want to see how it turns out. So, let's pretend for the moment that you don't have a daily web stream. Let's suppose that you're not day 9. I am going to be doing something that I do as a player, which is how I do market research for the matchup and learning and trying to see things in the context of this game that I just saw. So, first, what I always like to do is I like to boil it down. I'm going to try to boil everything down in this game that I saw for both sides. One player, his emphasis was on a lot of barracks units, Marines and Marauders, expanding rapidly with lots of orbital commands, and moving aggressively around the map to do counterattacks in the form of drops or just regular walking, right? A lot of counterattacky play, hitting the opponent where he's weak. The other player just went for a muscular, big Marine tank style, and the emphasis was on, well, if you want to come at me, I have a bunch of tanks, good luck. That was basically that. So what I did is I immediately downloaded a whole bunch of Terran vs. Terrans on this map. Now, note that I was pretty random in how I downloaded them, right? I went for some Korean ones, you know, like here we have Select and oGsTheSC. We have Rainbow versus NSP someone. But I even got one between DeMusliM and GoOdy. I just completely hone in on just one map. This is very, very important in practice, you know, just to say, I'm only thinking of Zerg vs. Protoss for the next few days, and it's even better if you can play it on one map. It's kind of hard to on ladder, but if you have a practice buddy, great. And here I'm thinking, okay, well, if I'm watching games, I only want to watch just this one map. I want to keep it focused. If I had the ability, I would love to watch 15 replays just on Xel'Naga Caverns of just one player. I'd want it as focused as possible, but for me, I was just sort of scrounging scraps. So let's go ahead and watch the very first game that I downloaded. And I want to, come on, download the content. Come on, little Starcraft. I want to be thinking of it again in the context of how would I abuse the mobility in this game. Because again, the game really excited me because that one player was expanding so frickin' much and doing so much Marine maraudering action that, I mean, essentially I got turned on, right? I got that sort of extreme Starcraft, ooh, kind of feeling, and I wanted to learn more. So we have Rainbow Razor in the bottom left is the red player. We have the blue Terran. I'm not even going to try to figure out how to read that. Alright, fantastic. So both players are going to be building the usual sort of supply depot thing. Now, I'm going to watch just a little bit longer and maybe see if there's any deviations. And then I want to note when something really cool that I saw in that other game. Alright, both of them are getting the gas geysers. Yeah, you know what? Right around now is when I want to go ahead and pause it. So I'm going to describe something that was very interesting to happen in this game. So let's consider our big Marine maraudering player and the big tank player. These are the players that were in the game that inspired me, the Terran vs. Terran that inspired me. The big Marine maraudering player early expanded and had, you know, 3-4 barracks churning out some Marines. Very, very typical. And when he scouted his opponent, he saw that the opponent was doing some sort of tech play, was getting Banshees and tanks. And the Marine maraudering player immediately took the gold. That blew my mind. That, again, turned me on, right? That was, oh, yeah. Because what really can the opponent do? It's so easy to see the Banshees and go, right away, I will do the direct response. I will make turrets. I will build a Viking. Ha! right? That's so obvious. Everybody does that. But it's that thinking one step ahead where you're saying, okay, the Banshee, what is it good at? You know, or actually I should say the whole Banshee play, the whole set of buildings, what is that good at? That's good at harassing, right? So I obviously have to prevent that from happening. I have to stop what it's good at. But then what is it horrible at? Map control. It's horrible at preventing me from wandering across the middle of the map. I mean, if I cloak my Banshee and start shooting at some units that are walking over, yeah, that's a little obnoxious. I'll probably have to pull back. But there's absolutely nothing that would prevent me from taking another expansion. So brilliant. That is the smartest thing ever. Because again, people always say, how do I not die? And they'll figure that out. But then they won't say, and then what else can I take advantage of? And this, the right hand is where we want to be living. So I want to be thinking about that a lot. I want to be thinking about that a lot in these games. And again, this is just a very general, broad thing that I do, which is to watch a whole bunch of games and try to glean some learning in the form of what I saw in that fancy game. So here we do have a tech lab coming out from Rainbow Razor. Second refinery going down. That reminds me of the Phoenix-style build. Phoenix is a sort of player who loves getting one Reaper out. Yep, and there's the Reaper coming out. Ooh, another barracks coming down. Ooh, this is some fancy play. And hey, command center going down. For the record, I just want to state for the record, I did not watch any of the games that I am about to present to you. Because I'm doing this as a player. I'm not doing this as a commentator right now. As a player, I'm personally curious. How the hell does this dynamic work? I want to study it a little more. And I want to start wording my thoughts. So, in terms of how I break this down, in terms of how I always break everything down, you've heard me say this a million times, I always say, what is the mid-game? What is your general goal, right? So that would be something like, I want a whole bunch of barracks, making a bunch of Marines and Marauders, and a lot of expansions. That's like your general form. And then there's the getting there. So I always kind of say, all right, how is this helping me stay alive? How is this making me worried that I'm going to die? And then the second half is, all right, how's my plan going? Am I doing my plan right? So, I mean, for instance, something like this, a barracks making a reactor, I would look at this in my first half type fashion. I would say, ooh, a reactor certainly takes a long time to build. I mean, just look at it, taking forever to build. This is a point of vulnerability for this Blue Terran player, so that makes me a little concerned. Oh, this is kind of a funky, odd play, but that's okay. That's okay. So, wonderful, wonderful. This is what I'm seeing right now. I, again, watched a game in the GSL where a Terran player went mass Marine Marauder all game long, expanded huge amounts, and eventually won the game with just overwhelming amounts of economy, and that got me excited. So, when I'm watching this right now, I'm going, good, good. This is starting to gear up to that play. This is starting to really look good. And then I'm looking at this, and I'm saying, in that GSL game I watched, the tanking player did not open this way. I have no idea how this opening fares against this opening. Well, it does look like Rainbow Razor's getting the chance to see everything that's going on in here. He's doing a little bit of damage. Didn't quite manage to do that much before dying. A lot of Marines coming out. Probably going to be getting stim a little fast. I'm noticing inefficiencies in this build order. We have 200 gas and absolutely no way to spend it. Unless we got a factory and stim. I mean, as you'll note, stim is 100 gas. But even then, I'm starting to go, yeah, but you know what? That's fine with me. That's okay. I'm going to acknowledge it, but I still am kind of going to say to myself, but of the general sense, of the general game plan, how's this Marine Maraudering junk going to work? How is this going to work? And now what we're seeing is ooh, nitro packs. Okay, cool. We see the scan. And this is actually kind of a brilliant play by Rainbow Razor because it's virtually impossible to know that there's a bunch of Reapers in here. Kind of cool, kind of funky. So, alright. Alright, let's see. We see the big Marine Maraudering thing. Looks like no Marauders quite yet, just a lot of Mariners. Good, good, good. Here come the Reapers. And this is kind of an exciting play for me. Not just because, oh, Reapers, those don't normally get built, therefore this must be Gosu. I am excited because if I want to do this kind of play, this big barracks play, how much do I need to worry about this? Or, you know, conversely, if I am against this sort of play, can I do this opening? Can I do this opening? Can I do this frickin' opening? And here it comes. Let's see how this ends up panning out. It hits him before Stim. I think that Stim maybe could have gotten out a little bit faster, but that is some pretty severe damage going down. Wow. And this is... Hey, this is actually kind of cool. As I'm doing my market research, trying to figure out this idea of abusing big, wide open space, I'm starting to think, hey, you know what? This might actually be a little bit stronger than I'd anticipated. All of them stayed alive, and because these bases are kind of wide, far spread out, it's relatively easy to execute this. And as we see, look, Rainbow Razor transitioning into kind of a big one-base push style thing. I'm going to speed this up a little bit because there's 2 more games that I want to review, that I want to check out. Wow, this is actually really interesting to me. Now I realize why this replay was posted. This is some cool stuff. Oh, man. And hey, I'm making the opponent come to me. I love it when the opponent comes to me. Oh, man, do I love that. What an easy defense for red. That was the easiest thing in the world. This is actually very, very cool. Okay, cool. Huh. Weird. And you know what? The funny thing that I will let you know right now, this is not the first time that I've ever seen someone go for Mass Reaper on this map. I've actually seen this twice now. Twice before this one. Interestingly, both from oGsTheSC. Just kind of interesting to say to yourself, okay, on this map, these open spaces could allow for some fancy action to go on here. Some fancy action to go on here. You know, with some Reapers bopping in there, some Reapers bopping in here. I'll do some more conclusions after this. I want to do as much observing as possible. I'm noticing no expansion coming out for red. That kind of concerns me a little bit. I mean, what are you going to do other than make a lot of Marines in blue spot? Got to be a little bit careful on the advancement. Don't quite want to advance there without the siege because, you know, he's always going to have more Marines since he's making out so many things. But wow, that was pretty cool. That was pretty cool. So, now... in between games is when I always say the biggest amount of learning happens. You want to do the learning in between games. This includes replay analysis. This also includes your own games. When you play a game on the ladder, you should be having the general mindset of, I'm going to try this. You try it. You focus on execution, not on decision-making. You focus on your execution. And then after that game, you go, huh. What do I want to do better or worse next time? What did I do right or wrong that I want to change next time? You do your learning in between the games. So I'm going to reflect upon this. Let's reflect upon this game. This is what I'm seeing. This is what I'm seeing. Let's think of it from the winner's point of view first. I want to speak in a little bit broad of a context. I feel like that Marine Marauder thing kind of has a momentum to it. You kind of have to spend a little bit of time to get going. So if I can batter my opponent hard enough, when I push, I'll win. And the Reapers really were the form of battery in that game. Now, for the record, the Reapers did huge damage. Insane amounts of damage. But did they really need to do that much damage? I think they could have done half as much damage, and Red would have won fine. Would have been amazingly easy for Red to win that game. I'm also a little concerned on Red's behalf because I think the following. He did that push with 2 barracks with the tech labs and the factory. I like that timing because notice how all this links up. The 2 barracks with the tech lab, right? Reapers making a lot of Reapers from these barracks with tech labs. The factory not only lets me begin making tanks, but lets me get the speed upgrade for my Reapers. See that link up? The factory for the tanks helps me get the speed upgrade. And then when I'm done making Reapers, these 2 barracks with the tech labs, these upgrade Stim and Combat Shield. Cool, cool. In other words, it's a great way to link Speed Reapers into double upgraded Marine plus tank timing push. But I get worried because I didn't see an expansion out of Red. It seemed a little bit all-in-ish. It seemed a little bit like, I'm going to do this push, but what if that push failed? What if it even was like, You know, one of those things where, okay, I did damage, we kind of traded armies, but now I have to pull back because I have 2 tanks and that's it. Obviously, just can't have 2 tanks sitting by themselves. The Marauders will pick it off. So I'm kind of thinking to myself, yeah, I guess, I'm not so sure about that particular play. I'm not so sure about that. And here's another thing I'm going to note now that we have the time here. I don't want to say something like derp derp Speed Reapers let you win wah wah wah, because this sort of thing, Reapers are actually very good against Marines, by the way. But like I want to note something from Blue's point of view that I think would help. Look at how turtly Blue's playing. Look at the vision. Actually, I'm just going to move over here on the minimap. Now just look at the minimap with me. Alright, we see the speed finishing for the Reapers, and then here goes another little blue unit, I guess over to this Xel'Naga Watchtower. Why is he not holding that one? And oh my god, Reapers in the main! Da-da-da-da-da-da! That bothered me quite a bit. I'm wondering, why did Blue not have this Watchtower, or this Watchtower? He has these faster, more mobile Marines. If he had this one, and this one, any attack force can cause him to pull back. The one danger would be, I don't know, Blue Flame Hellions. Well, okay, well now that we've identified a danger, maybe then Blue should be doing something like building 2 supply depots here a little earlier. Maybe he finds that building 2 supply depots creates vulnerability for Banshees. Okay, so that's fine. Well, I guess that he has to leave this open. Well, why not put an SCV here, and then 1 SCV here, and then 1 Marine here, and just use vision to his advantage. In a very old GSL game, Marine King Prime, who at the time was called Foxer, he, on Steps of War, held both Xel'Naga Watchtowers and had half his Marines at one Watchtower and another half of his Marines at the other. And when he saw a Banshee move out, he just intercepted the Banshee before it even got to his base. Cool, using vision to his advantage. So for me, I would actually attribute this loss, this big mass marining loss, I would attribute this a little bit more to this lack of vision in the mid-game. So you're noticing that I took this game, did some nice learning. I got to say, yeah, this build's cool. I mean, Reaper tank, that's with this clever Nitro pack. I think that's great. I like that quite a bit. I got to learn a build, but I also got to state some concerns. I might want to rework that build later. I would put that in my back pocket. Or if I have a StarCraft notebook, I have a section where I just note, like, this game played on this date on this map. Player did weird sort of funky thing. And then sometimes I rename the replay. And then if ever one day I'm like, I'm stuck in Terran vs. Terran, I just flip to that page in my book and I'm like, oh yeah, there was that one game where you did that weird Reaper timing push. Cool, maybe I'll try that one out. So hell, even if people suddenly stop doing this big Marine Marauder style on Xel'Naga Caverns, I have another build in my back pocket. But you know what? I did some good amount of learning from Blue's point of view. Let's do this game from Select. I really, really like Select as a player. And don't tell him this. Don't tell Select I said this, but I think he is a sharp-looking dude. I mean, seriously, I only say that because I deeply respect his level of play and his fashion sense. But man, when I saw him, I was like, oh gosh, yes, thank God you're the nerd who's doing well at MLG. Because let me tell you something, you want for the media's sake, you know, you want to be able to say that right there is one of the top tier players in America, and the media turns the camera and goes, oh yes indeed, you suave, handsome little gamer. Don't tell him I said that though. Don't tell him I said that. He's quite a dapper fellow. So here's Select. Spawning is red in the top right. Let's see what the chat had to say again, about that. Oh man, I was expecting a bunch of LOL, yeah, Select, but everyone in the chat's like, what? All right. It's totally cool. It doesn't bother me. Select. You have my man love forever. So Select spawning in the top right corner. Whoops, let me put up my overlay because again, I want to be as uninfluenced as possible. Humorously enough, I actually have these overlays permanently opened on my computer, and sometimes I inadvertently leave them up just when I'm watching replays in my spare research time. And incidentally, this is kind of a fun way to, you know, gauge success, because it's very easy to be like, wow, man, it's only 3 minutes left and Select looks screwed. Is maybe there a way he can come back from it? You know, it's really nice just to look at it from an ultra objective standpoint. So both of them are opening up in the gassing fashion. Again, I'm going to state this as I did at the start of the other game, including with a pause. Yeah! I watch all these games. I'm doing this research in the context of that inspiring Terran vs. Terran I saw. The inspiring Terran vs. Terran had a mass Marine maraudering player who used mobility to expand tons and counterattacking to keep his opponent in check. The opponent went for huge, muscular tech play with lots of Banshee harass and gigantic armies that you wouldn't want to touch. cool dynamic, and the insane mobile player really inspired me. So I'm going to put everything in that context because, again, as a StarCraft 1 player, I like plays that are not based around, oh yeah, I made Unit X because it performs well against Unit Y. I really dislike that logic of play. I'm much more a fan of ideas of mobility and controlling space. The idea of, for instance, expanding to an awkward location so you can plant a planetary fortress and control that essential space very early on. Or a mobility play like Mass Marine Marauders, so you can do counterattacks and isolate and cut his armies in half. So even though overall your army is weaker, you're always attacking half of his army at any given point in time. Love that sort of play. It's very, very, very cool high-level stuff that's slowly seeping into StarCraft 2 as players are getting better and better. So already I'm into Select, right? Okay, we have the factory going down for both players. Already I'm a little into Select because he's controlling both Xel'Naga watchtowers. The one closest to his opponent is a faster unit. The SCV can retreat faster than the Marine. This Xel'Naga watchtower is closer for Select home. I would not want this Marine here because it's farther away. I would not want Select's SCV on this watchtower because it's closer. Faster unit should be at the farther tower. If you're Protoss, put a Stalker here and a Zealot there, or a Probe here and a Zealot there. Very, very, very smart stuff. So now Select is going to engage in a little bit of battling. Looks like Blue got the first shot off, and Select! Yes, indeed, I do take breaks from analysis every now and again to just be a fan of StarCraft, and that was cool. So we do see the STC now planting down a reactor, getting his factory up. Let's re-examine Select's base. He's getting a pretty early second refinery, probably going to be going for either the very fast Cloak Banshee play or just your typical tank Viking pretty fast play, but I'd probably lean towards the Cloak Banshee stuff. This is almost always a clear sign of that Banshee-age, unless he's doing something a little new school. Oh, yes, the STC, God bless you. God bless you. Going for an early expand style. Now, we do see we have some Hellions being built. This is another pretty popular opening on this map, to do a double Hellion opening. And I want to, again, think of this in relation to my inspiring game, where one player used Mass Marine and big mobility, and the other player used muscular but immobile tank play. So I'm thinking the following. Well, because Xel'Naga Caverns is a wide open, spread out map, I guess that units like Hellions, Marines, Marauders have a lot happier of a time. If our map was very closed off, like let's say Scrap Station, Scrap Station honestly has little narrow attack lanes. There's not a lot of roundaboutness to Scrap Station. You can do a direct push in that tiny little alley. Hellions do not have a happy time on that past the very early stages of the game. But on Xel'Naga Caverns, they really do. So cool, cool. I'm liking that. I'm liking that. We can also get vision. And I think that this would allow for a very stable transition into a very large Mass Marine play. So we're seeing Select almost certainly going to be doing the swap out. Nope, not at all. Not at all. Just doing a Marine Medevac straight up game. Cool, cool. This also excites me because notice that Select's gameplay. Damn it, he's not making a medevac. Alright, let me just actually back out. Let's pretend for a moment he was making a medevac. The reason I said, oh, I guess he's going for that medevac play, it's not because of any of my previous knowledge of Terran vs. Terran. It's not because it's something I normally do. It's because I'm thinking of it in the context of mobility. I'm saying to myself, wow, if he could do a usual Banshee play, maybe get some tanks, or he could get Stim Marines and Medevacs and Hellions really fast. Mobile units, mobility. I'm not thinking of it in terms of, is he doing the exact build? I don't see an early expansion, right? It's like mobility versus kind of a little bit faster, weaker mobility versus this strong immobility, right? I'm contrasting it versus my inspiring game. As it turns out, it looks like he's not doing this. Might go for a Raven, might go for a Banshee. I will calmly admit that I have zero freaking clue. Looks like he's beginning some mobility play early on. Looks like we're having a fun old punching match. But here comes Buddy Punch. Yes, thank you, Buddy Punch. Looks like more Hellions popping out. Reactor now popping up. Looks like some more Marines incoming. Good spread by Select. Man, he's handsome. Ooh, get him, Select. Alright, well, looks like an even exchange there. Thing popping up right now. And I always want to note, one thing real fast. There's a big difference between your opening and then your overall strategy for the game. Your overall strategy for the game would be something like, I'm going to go mass Marine Marauder with Medivacs and use all the counterattack paths on Xel'Naga Caverns to keep my opponent in check. The opening would be something like, well, I'll open Hellions to kind of keep him back, which will allow me to start my Medivac production early on. And I will use those reactors later to get tons and tons of Marines on my barracks, right? It's kind of like how you wiggle around and then you land right where you want to be, right? Big, big, big thing to note. So I'm trying to think always about how does this dump into something cool. This opening, is it going to dump into the big muscular tank play, or is it going to dump into that mobile Marine Marauder play? Not a lot of categories for overall strategies, right? Not a lot of those. Plenty of room for subtlety. Plenty of room to be like, oh yeah, you could maybe get an extra upgrade, or maybe a tank in there, or maybe not a tank, these sorts of things. Lots of subtlety, but in terms of overall gameplay, there's a couple of very simple structures in the mid-game that you'll see. So I'm getting pretty pumped because I'm seeing, oh, Select, he's kind of hanging back for a bit, but he's going to be going for some sort of very mobile Marine Maraudering play. We already see Stims close to done. Combat Shield could be incoming relatively soon. Vikings coming up. STC playing in a way that's very, very unusual for me. This is an opening that I have a little bit of a hard time wrapping my head around. Not because I'm thinking, well, what the hell is a Hellion Viking mix, right? What the hell is that? I don't really think that. That's almost never the way I think, either as a player or as a commentator. I think, what does this lead into? If you're going for big Marine Marauder mobility, you're going to need a tech lab pretty soon so you can get the stim and the combat shield. If you're going for your big tank heavy play, you're going to need a tech lab pretty soon to get tanks, right? Like, so I'm kind of going, well, I guess those two reactors could maybe be used later for Marines? I'm trying to think. I'm thinking. It's kind of cool, though, the level of map control he's getting. There's the Banshee coming out. Here are the Vikings. He's being so aggressive. This is very fun. Love it when Terran players have their units set in a forward fashion. Yeah, get out. Uh-oh. Oh, no. STC doing the scoot and shoot. Fantastic. Do we have some medevacs coming out? Of Raven, also just great. Looks like an expansion coming up. This is going to get shut down relatively fast. Hellions popping forth. What on earth is STC going to transition to? What on earth? What do these allow him to do? I'm thinking. There's a tech lab going down finally. Maybe he'll get stim out of this one fast and then build another barracks and give the two reactors to them. Maybe something like that. I don't foresee this beginning any tank production anytime soon. You just, I mean, you need Marines no matter what, so. Hellions continuing to be very cool and very aggressive. We see the combat shield getting done by Select. He's now churning out some double medevacs, beginning to get some more Marauders, which I think is a cool play, as long as he gets that concussive shell. Wants to slow those down. God, what are you doing, STC? I'm so confused. I mean, he might just be saying, you know what? Hellions are a good unit. I'm just going to be making them all game long. I want to see him to get Blue Flame at some point eventually. And if, for some reason, STC did end up making a lot of Hellions this game and it was really effective, I would probably say to myself, wow, now there's a new way of thinking I did not ordinarily consider. Select is transitioning into the very, very common middle of the road. Good amount of Marine Marauders and some tanks. I prefer the skew heavy to tanks or heavy to Marine Marauder. I don't like tweener builds. I'm not a fan of those tweener builds. This play by the STC is just weirding me out. I'm actually going to go ahead and speed it up. And a second factory. Gosh, I am confused. Wow, and now he's going to be transitioning into the big tank play. Here's the factories coming up. Here's the barracks coming up. We're at minute 11. Whoa, that was roundabout. I'm not so sure how I feel about that. I guess it was a really safe expansion because he has the Vikings and the Hellions out so fast. You can always defend against a pretty varied army, to be honest. Still, it's a very funky play because, I mean, just now we're really getting started. There's our combat shield coming up. And the Cloaked Banshee coming up. You know, this is a lot. So many Terran players. Okay, so here, I want to point this out. Because this is an important concept of, no matter what you see, link it to something you know. There's a lot of different orderings, but there's not that many fundamental vectors that you can go along. How many of you Terran, or actually anyone, how many of you have ever played a Terran vs. Terran or watched a Terran vs. Terran where the following happens? I harass you with a cloaked Banshee while I build up a Marine tank army. Yeah! Some of you even see that in Terran vs. Zerg, right? You totally see that. So here what I'm seeing is, okay, the STC opened up with this Hellion Viking business. Great. But then he's going to transition into cloaked Banshee harass and get a lot of Marines and Marauders and tanks. If he did end up upgrading the Blue Flame, I would probably just, you know, shove a grenade into my ear because I just cannot wrap my head around this play. Please build a tank for my sanity's sake, please. Are you really going to swap again? Oh, that is something you would do. That is so something you would do, the STC. I will note that the STC has been absolutely safe this whole time, and I have something that I'm going to state after the fact. I'm going to state it later on. But my gosh, look at this, transitioning right into that Marine tank business. Right on into that Marine tank business. I think you guys are really going to like this conclusion. It took me a while to get there. I spent most of the time freaking out. But okay, so we have the battle coming out. Alright, good. We can do some Hellion counterattacking. Not that way! STC, no! There's a rock there! So now we're going to see Select try to advance on in. Oh, man, is that brutal. Oh, man. And wow. This is actually brilliant play by oGsTheSC. I'm starting to really see it clear as day now. Not because, obviously, this is such a good play. Oh, it allows you to easily double your opponent's food. Alright, we have some dropping business in the main. Alright, cool. Alright, cool. Okay. Okay. Alright, yep. Okay. Here comes the learning. We're actually going to rewatch this whole thing. I got one more game that I think is like 28 minutes long. We're going to cruise through that at warp speed. Because again, I'm trying to do some research, but I'm also trying to keep the daily under a million years long. So here's the thing that I saw. Let's remember what game inspired me. There was a player who opened up with an early expand Big Marine Marauder. The opponent opened up with the Banshee harass into the tank Marine thing, right? And in the mid-game, the Big Marine Maraudering player was everywhere. He was everywhere on the map. Both Xel'Naga watchtowers, medevacs flying all over the place, units way behind his opponent's bases. And every time the tanking player moved out, in came the Marine, the Marauders, the medevacs. It was so scary. Oh gosh, it was so cool to see how much control and lockdown that opponent or that player had on the map. And what did the tanking player do? The tanking player did a very smart thing, which is pretty common for passive muscular styles, which is to say, alright, I concede to your mobility. You're gonna have the mobility. And I'm just gonna sit here, but I'm gonna build up the most perfect composition so that when I move out, you will almost always have a significant loss if you engage me. So the mobility player responds by saying, I will out-expand you. So I will, of course, lose in every single battle, but I will have mined twice as much minerals as you all game long, and I will frickin' win. Now, there's a word that I said a lot in there, mobility. Mobility, 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 map control. Mobility, map control. Freaking map control. In the first game we looked at, what did the Blue Terran player do? You saw me rewatch through the Blue Terran player, and no vision, no vision, no vision. Marines and expanding, and no vision, and no vision, and no vision. Reapers! What the for Reapers? Dead. Everything in the back of his base wanted to just snap his neck right off. Terrible position to be in for that player. Now, if you are an immobile tank player, you're probably going to have that feeling of defend, 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 hold, hold, and attack. No! Counterattack comes in. Pfft, I'm so annoyed. Watch what happens with oGsTheSC's build, right? Let's actually go to the OGS cam. And again, I am going to move up here, and let's just watch the minimap. Let's just watch the minimap. What we really want to be doing with our big Marine Marauder tank army, or excuse me, I should just say our big Marine tank army, is get really big, strong pushes against our opponent, but we're always a little bit concerned about mobility. This Viking Hellion opening got tremendous map control for the majority of the game. Tremendous map control. I'll even open up production. See, we see the expansion going down right now. We see the scouting going on up here. Here's some Hellions moving out through the middle of the map. I'm going to slow it down to ×4 and see already the Hellions have control in the center of the map. There's the Banshee coming out in the production tab, and the 2 Vikings also from oGsTheSC coming out in the production tab. Look at the vision. Look at all the Hellions working their way around the map, snaking about. There's that Banshee getting chased. See, I'm going to slow it down. You see up here, here's the Banshees getting chased by the Vikings. There on the minimap is some more Hellions moving out. And my goodness, the ordinarily mobile Marine Marauding Force is having a really hard time dealing with all these Hellions and Vikings out on the map. All these Hellions and Vikings going out on the map. So, eventually, okay, and here we're going to look back at the production tab. Look back at the production tab. 2 barracks coming out right now for the STC. 2 barracks. And we're going to see another factory pop down. There's the other factory. Now oGsTheSC, as we can clearly see, there we go. As we can clearly see here, he's starting to go back to that mid-game. Again, you kind of heard me say, are we going Marine Maraudering? Or are we going big tank muscular style? There's only really 2 things that you can dump into, right? But here we see him, yeah, he's eventually going for that. However, he made this huge play with the big Viking and the big Hellion push, because look at the map control that he has. Again, let's go to this uninteresting corner of the map and let's look at that map control. Cool. Cool. In the inspiring game I saw, the big mass tanking player had 0 map control. In this game, the big mass tanking player has absolute map control. Complete and total map control. Here's the push coming out. The Hellions can easily swing around at any point. Cloaked Banshee moving in for the harass. And as usual, the core set of the army, the tanks, the Marines, the Medivacs, the Ravens, all these other things, those ordinarily very defensive static units for oGsTSC are static and are defensive and are waiting for the time to move out. But because we have these Hellions and Vikings out, we can dominate and lock down on this map and make those Marines and Marauders a lot more uncomfortable about moving around in the map. That is a freaking awesome thing to have seen in this game. That gets me excited. I'm sure many of you who are tank-heavy players have been having very frustrating times against Marine Maraudering players. So I would say if the map is sufficiently open, as in on Xel'Naga Caverns, you might consider incorporating a big shift to Hellions in the opening stages just to get a lockdown on map control, just to get a complete and total shutdown on map control. Smartly, the STC also gets Vikings because obviously Banshees are a threat, or some sort of funky medevac play. Obviously, these things need to be accounted for. But Hellion Viking, long enough distance, open enough map, going to be very, very effective for locking down map control. Just make sure you get the tanks quick enough, because it's really tragic when you have, 16 Hellions and 8 Vikings, and that's it, and he just moves out with a bunch of Marauders and kills you. Don't want that to happen, but this is a very, very enlightening example for me. This really kind of makes me think that, if you want to be doing a big Marine Maraudering play, you're going to have to be expanding a little bit more aggressively. Maybe getting that, valuing the concussive shell a touch more. Against these Hellions, locking off areas of the map with buildings a little bit more steeply. I mean, there's nothing wrong with, for instance, building a barracks and another barracks here, and then constantly shoving stuff down here. If, for the most part, with your Marine Marauders, you're generally out in the middle of the map, it's fine to have 2 vulnerable buildings there, because an army's never going to get there. But Hellions will be able to get there, so it's good to block them off. These are the sorts of extreme decisions. So I'm feeling more and more educated in terms of, again, relating everything back to my inspiring game. My inspiring game that had one player going big, Marine, tank, versus the very mobile Marine Marauder medevac. So I'm going to load up one more game. Daily's been going for 43 minutes. Cloud's getting out of the game. This is a game between GoOdy and DeMusliM. I want to keep this idea of mobility on my brain. Man, I love that Hellion opening, especially when it was clear what the hell was going on after all those millions and millions of seconds of excruciating waiting. Oh, cool, DeMusliM, are you actually going to early expand for us? Are you going to early expand for us, DeMusliM? Oh, he's so sweet. And it looks like we have the command center going down. Oh, getting manor blocked. Oh, goody. Good for you. It looks like the command center just got built in the main. So, pretty typical. Just for the record, a lot of people like building the command center and then using the extra supply drop. You can get this barracks started a little earlier I don't know which one's better. I just figured I'd throw it out there and then let you do the research. Double gas coming out from DeMusliM. I want to just come back and just state one more thing. As usual, I'm relating everything back to my inspiring game. Now, in the last game, there was this huge concept I threw at you, which was Hellions and Vikings for map control, and then eventually, Marine Marauder tank for winning, right? For the big muscle. That's the concept part. That's the overall strategy. Now, the opening is where I'd have a few concerns for the STC, where I'd say, are you getting those Vikings fast enough? Are you making too many Vikings? Are you not getting the tanks early enough? All these staying alive. Conceptually, we saw it work. Conceptually, we saw it get there. But there's always a couple of, ooh, how does that... Is this the exact build order you want? And the reason I bring that up is with DeMusliM. Oh, okay, he's getting a bunch of barracks. It looks like he's going for an early expand mass barracks play. Did he get these 2 refineries too early? Should he have gotten this 3rd barracks before building any refineries? These are the little subtle, trying not to die type concerns. Less so of the overarching strategy type concerns. The overarching strategy would be something like a lot of Marines Marauders, faster expansion, and controlling these watchtowers for the purposes of denying Banshees and Hellions. Those are the good ones. Those are the meaty ones. Alright. Ooh, this is exciting. Ooh, gosh, this makes me want to play this matchup so bad. But unfortunately, I have to encode a video tonight. Ah! That's fine. Refinery's going down. GoOdy's playing pretty typically. Could be going for a Marine Hellion medevac push. Let's see. It's going to be hard to build that medevac when he's supply blocked, so let's see what he makes out of it. Yeah, see, this is one of those moments where I'd kind of go, ooh, DeMusliM, was your build as ideal as it could have been? Because, I mean, look at all this gas that we kind of have stockpiled up. I think it could be okay. I'm not trying to bash DeMusliM. I'm trying to just keep your mind in the right place at this phase of the game. Too often people will look here and be thinking, now, should I transition into this or that, or what's my overall game plan? Your overall game plan should be pretty fixed early on, and at this point, you should be thinking of, how do I not die? How do I not die? How do I not die? There's the stim going down. Marines coming up. Factory about halfway done. Some Mariners popping up. Okay, SCV poking in there. Supply depot done. Nothing really popping out of this barracks quite yet. Getting cooked. Alright, let's see here. Stim's going down. Still noticing a little bit of a gas surplus. Maybe this would lead me to conclude that next game, I will not build those 2 geysers as early. Or build 1, and then build the second one later. And the most important word there was next. In the next game. Too often people try to fix this game. They make an error and they go, well, if I have lost my expansion, I don't quite have stim done, I have 8,000 gas, well, how should I, what's the next best step? The best step is to leave the game and then not get into that situation in the following game you play. And I don't mean that to try to be like herp-de-dur and try to be funny. So much of StarCraft 2 is forward-looking. It's, let me test this. I'll probably lose, but I really want to know what I should be doing in the next game. The value of this game is not the number of points you get for it. It's the fact that you can win next game. That's how you want to think. That's why I have more than 3 versions of StarCraft 2. Because I have accounts where I like to test things on. Because testing is so very, 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 very frickin' important. Expansion going down for GoOdy. Expansion going down. Alright, he has a support tech lab. He's getting Banshees with Cloak. Okay, there's the expansion command center. As before, very common play, cloaked Banshee harass, followed by big tank Marine play and an expand. Very, very typical. GoOdy has some mobile units. He has some mobile units. There's some Marines, there's some Hellions here. Cool. He's trying to battle this. Interestingly, the Marine Marauder Force that usually is oh so static is now having a little bit of trouble with its mobility. And oh my goodness, it appears that I was potentially wrong about this gas business, because now, with double medevac coming out, that gas is going to begin getting spent very, very rapidly. And of course, when this upgrade finishes, we're going to need to get that combat shield. I'm still feeling that maybe it was a few seconds too early, but not like 30 seconds too early on that gas. So again, that's a staying alive concern. That's not a nitty-gritties of our build concern. Or that is a staying alive concern. That is a nitty-gritties of our build concern. That is not overarching strategy type focus. So yeah, we are seeing this good sort of static play by GoOdy. DeMusliM seem to have a good grasp.
on what he wants to be doing at this phase in the game. Don't make a tank, GoOdy. Don't do it. Don't build it. All right, this is all. We don't care about this. Of course, he's picking off a Banshee. Good for you. Good for freaking you. All right, that's fine. Go advanced charge, orbital command. All right, doing a little poking. This is the mobility that's really exciting. We poke. You don't have to commit here. I think DeMusliM probably could have pulled back. It looks like he's not pulling back, and to me that's fine, because it's having a little bit of success here. If this were a Marine tank attack, at this point, there would, like, let's say DeMusliM had the exact same amount of resources, but instead of making Marine Marauder Medevac, had made Marine Tank. At this point, he would have, like, a tank and 5 Marines and would have to retreat. But because he has a faster force, he can continue to press onward, and the instant things get hairy, he can do a stim and run a little move out. I guess he's getting a little overgold, having 2 Marines and stimming them and microing them, and yes, each of you attack one thing. Like, I mean, it's a little excessive. If you're as good as DeMusliM is, you can get away with that, but I mean, if you're like a platinum level player, you really, it's actually probably more correct for you to retreat with these, 3 Marines. I mean, DeMusliM, actually, damn it, DeMusliM, stop trying to micro. This is actually my big problem with watching a player like DeMusliM play, in terms of learning. DeMusliM is good enough to control his stuff well and do damage and get out and be fine. A lot of people, probably me included, is not good enough to do that. I am not good enough to control my Marines that well and macro at the same time and expand and transfer my workers and make sure that my head is still in the right place. And that's okay. It's just important that I understand that, because nothing pains me more than when I see a platinum level player get to this point in the game and say, I will now micro 5 Marines to the fullest. He micros those 5 Marines to the fullest and ends up with 2,000 minerals, 1,000 gas, not enough unit producing structures, an expansion with nothing mining, and says, why did I lose? I control my Mariners so well. Yes, but that's not the important part. That is the one resource that is very important to control most properly, is how you manage your time in a real-time strategy game. That is the biggest struggle, doing what, where, at what point, and for how long. That's actually the really hard one. So again, we're seeing this mobility abuse by DeMusliM. Mobility up here at the top, mobility here at the left, adding on more barracks. This is so cool to see this mid-game technique be employed. Very, very aggressive play by DeMusliM. Not something that you or I would need to do, but DeMusliM is allowed to do because he is good enough. But do not become caught up with the idea that you need to be like DeMusliM. And at this point, see, here's something that kind of bugs me a little bit. Here's where I start to get bugged about the strategy aspect of it. We have all these barracks, making all these units. And oh, how tragic it is to be GoOdy, because look at the GoOdy cam. He has 1 Banshee, and other than that, defense, 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 defense. Even trying to get some Hellions out here, maybe some blue flameness. Defense, defense, defense. And DeMusliM, oh yeah, he can be really aggressive. He can actually move here and here. But why is he getting 2 factories? That's one thing that bugs me a little bit strategically. I feel like he could expand. Relating it back to my awe-inspiringly cool game that I was mentioning. That game where I had the mobile expanding player against the immobile tanking muscly player. I am thinking, why are you not expanding here, DeMusliM? Why are you not expanding here? Look at this sort of harassment. Locking back GoOdy. Locking him down. DeMusliM, DeMusliM, DeMusliM. DeMusliM, DeMusliM, DeMusliM. Armory down, probably to get a +2 up. We see the +1 infantry armor getting close to done. Cool! Mobility, mobility! Look at the tanks and the Hellions all the way back here, picking things off, picking off the workers. Uh-oh, looks like a bunch of Hellions are in a good spot. That's fine, he's going to lift up, he's going to pull back. Mobility, mobility, mobility. But this expansion command center could have just been planted here, and all these units could have been rallied here to pick this off. I just am really disliking this tank play. And this might be a sort of extreme transition to something like Mass 4. I mean, honestly, no matter what DeMusliM does at this point, it's probably going to be hard for him to lose. But I still want to relate it back to this game. I still now am saying something like, I could do an opening that is DeMusliM's opening, and then my overarching strategy I could do different than DeMusliM's. I could do not this big tank transition. Because basically what DeMusliM's doing is he's saying, I now sacrifice all mobility. I'm going all muscle. And as we see, here's something interesting to note. Just notice visually how this is different. maybe, you know, actually I'm even going to remove the overlay just to show this. Okay, look at the map right now. Look at this. Here's one of the most amazing examples of mobility versus muscle and immobility. Look at this entire map. Look. So here's the planetary fortress going down. Look at DeMusliM's bases. All the red dots on the map point towards the opponent. Look at that. It's like a big arrow, and at the tip of the arrow is a big, scary force of tanks. Let's come back here, and now let's look at the mini-map for red. Now let's really look at it. Okay, once he ends up taking his expansion. Look at the minimap. You're going to see red darting around the outskirts. That is something that is allowed. Look at it looping through. Okay, so there's that attack. Again, let's look at the minimap because that's such a great indicator. Look at this little red in the back. Look at these little more bits of red sort of sneaking their way around. Mobile. Oh, look, sneaking around the backside. Oh, look, another drop darting its way up there. Okay, cool. Okay, cool. All right. And then I'm going to be referencing this production tab up here. Okay, look. Uh-oh, here's some factories coming down, but that's fine. We're still making a lot of Marines. Look at the mobility in the top corner. Here's more mobility moving out to the right. Mobility skirting around the sides. Mobility along the outsides. But here we see 2 factories going down for red. 2 factories going down for DeMusliM. And now suddenly everything becomes a giant arrow pointing towards the opponent. Everything becomes a giant arrow. This is the thing that always concerns me whenever a player transitions more into this big siege tank style. Is that you kind of end up having to do more direct attacking and sort of deal with your opponent in a straight-up fashion. Yep, here's some more turrets coming up. We got to play a little more defensively. Yeah, look, nothing really swinging around the outset. Or, excuse me, around the outskirts. This always makes me a little nervous because we can't get back home as easily.
Mineral field
and this is a planetary fortress because we have these slow immobile tanks that can't get back home as fast. If we had Marine Marauder, this should be a planetary, or excuse me, this should be an orbital 100% of the time. It's probably going to be a big shock to GoOdy. But hey, Blue Flame Hellions going to go ahead and do their thing. This is quite tragic. That's actually quite tragic that DeMusliM didn't realize he wasn't locked in. Oh gosh, did that suck. Because this is an immobile army, DeMusliM cannot pull back quickly enough in time. Cannot pull back. Going to try to do a little bit of the mobility play, but again, having a little bit of trouble here because he has so many tanks. Now what does DeMusliM do? Ooh, despite having what I would call a stronger army, he's in an awkward spot with his immobile force. And it looks like he's going to be able to drill here. It looks like he's going to be able to commit and really get in there. But man, this is going to be a little intimidating. You do see GoOdy doing this kind of cool... oh god. Don't queue. Please don't queue. I'm actually going to add this up. 150, 125, so that's 450. That's 900 minerals right there and there. That's 900 minerals. That's 375 gas. Another 375 is 750 gas. Okay, and then we have another... So that's... Jeez Louise... 1,300 minerals and 750 gas, doing nothing, sitting in the queue. And somehow GoOdy's still winning, or still managing to put up a good fight, which is always, like, if your opponent is playing poorly, this is bad macro from GoOdy. This is just bad. I'm not even going to try to defend it. That's bad. Don't queue things up. If GoOdy is doing a very, very, very awful thing, and still putting up an amazingly good fight, that's when you, as DeMusliM, should say something like, whoops, probably there's some sort of leak in my play. And really, I think the total collapse came when DeMusliM moved up to this north side and didn't have his back faces covered. Now it looks like he may lose an expansion. Amazingly enough, I think that DeMusliM is probably going to be okay because he has this extra command center. Here he's going to be trying to do the pullback. Doesn't quite have enough tanks there. There's the unload. Yeah, GoOdy tries to fight, but alas, it will not work. Has a few of the Banshees, gonna have to retreat. There's the orbital command landing again. A pretty cool force from GoOdy, the tank killing force. Very, very cool stuff. I think DeMusliM's doing a good job of being aggressive, but at this point, I think that he should transition to just more Marines and Marauders. Because again, look at the very fast force. Ninja, 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 ing. Alright, here's some Blue Flame Hellions. Hey, those mobile forces were able to deal with that pretty darn well. Hey, look, blocking off paths to spot it, so our mobility can be a little bit better exploited. Blue Flame Hellions. Oop, the tanks kind of slowed down that push a little bit. DeMusliM going to be doing another direct push again. See, I don't really mind DeMusliM's big transition to tanks, but he kind of needs to attack straight. If you attack in this roundabout, you got to have mobility. He doesn't have that sort of ability. We're going to go ahead and just end. I'm just going to stop right here. I'm not interested in the results because honestly that looks pretty grim for GoOdy. I'm going to go ahead and take some questions, but you're starting to see how I watch everything in the context of that one inspiring game. And there was so much great knowledge that was gained from all of these when I had a reason to watch them. I did not sit down with these games and just go, I suck at TvT on Xel'Naga, what do? I said, I saw two sick players play a game on Xel'Naga Caverns. One with the big mass muscular tank play, the other with the big mobile marine marauder medevac play. How do other games relate to that? And I got all sorts of cool knowledge that really makes me want to go play Terran vs. Terran. A lot of very cool lessons were learned, IMO. So let's take some things. Arcane Fox 1 says, Day 9, how would you deal with a highly mobile force of Marine Marauders medevacs dropping everywhere in TvT? That's actually a very, very difficult question. I am torn, really, with the best way to deal with that, because for any of you who've ever watched Marine King Prime's game, he just has amazing counterattack drops with those, and really is fully committed to that. Like, he doesn't fuck around with them at all. You know, some players will be like, I'll leave some tanks at home, I'll do a Marine medevac drop in his main, I'll also put a bunker up. I mean, Marine King Prime is like, 100% of units are Marines and medevacs, and all of them are going to your base. Zero defense at the front. Like, serious in-your-face type business. And that is what I'm going to address, is that style of play. I'm torn. There's three big ways that I would try to think of how to deal with that. One of them would be the I'm going to do my normal build without really that many changes, and just accept that I need to do a very defensive play into a strong push. So let's say I'm a big muscular tank player. I would defend, make sure no drops hit me, and I'm getting a critical mass of tanks, 12, 14 tanks, a lot of Marines and medevacs, a big force. So when I move out, I don't even care that he's going to try to base trade with me. I'll have some defense set up to account for that, knowing that he can never engage my main force directly, period. That's one way of dealing with it. So it's basically another way of saying, your style's fine, and my style's fine too. I'm just going to overall play my style better. So that's the first one. The second one would be to do some sort of direct response, which would be like, well, I'm just going to get a lot of Vikings out. I'm just going to get tons and tons and tons of Vikings to deal with your medevac drops. I'm going to have a lot more map control, something like that. Well, now that I'm spending so much gas on Vikings, I guess I have some minerals left over to get Hellions. So I guess I'll use those. Maybe not something like that. I guess the second way that I would deal with it is by saying, what deals with this directly? Vikings will kill the medevac drops off directly. So how does everything else fall into place now? That and then that how does everything else fall into place? That's like a really hard discussion. You're seeing me like cover up my head, like trying to think. Okay, well, would I also go Marine Marauder medevac as well, but just hope to kill his medevacs? Well, maybe I'd go Viking, and maybe I'd get some tanks in there as well. But then I'd be spending so much gas that I'd have a lot of minerals left over, so maybe should I go a lot of Marines? Like, this is where like the hard thinking comes. And the third way I would deal with this is by doing what I call almost the same thing as what he does. So if he went Marine medevac, I would go Marine medevac Blue Flame Hellion, right? I would throw in just a dash, just a sprinkle, like a teaspoon of something else, to try to just edge it in my favor, and then just overall play better. It's a hard thing to deal with. No matter what, though, the most important response is vision. Sensor tower your heart out. Sensor frickin' tower your heart out. Get the Xel'Naga watchtowers your heart out. Do that stuff. Moose SC. I'm going to take this and one more question, because we've been going for 1 hour and 3 minutes. No, actually, I'll end on this one, because I have to do the Fun Day Monday and Newbie Tuesday announcements. Moose SC says, Dear Day 9, you say don't micro if it costs your macro, but it seems like that intensive micro and harassment is important for map control. How do not diamond players keep map control with harassment? Or how do non-diamond players, that would be like bronze to platinum? So, it's not so much don't micro if it costs you macro.
What I'm saying is that in a real-time strategy game, the most important skill is how you manage your time. I'm spending this much time telling my workers to mine. I'm spending this much time telling my workers to build. I'm spending this much time macroing. I'm spending this much time microing. I almost unanimously say favor macro, largely because most players unanimously favor micro. Like, unanimously, without even realizing it. And I say it to really try to draw them away. The ideal situation is where you can get a healthy medium, where you can do a little bit of control, a little bit of micromanagement, and macro well at the same time. And that's something you actually have to train yourself to do. For me, anytime I feel that, like, because you know how, for instance, I'll have like a one control group, right? Like my control group 1 is like my 8 Marines. Anytime my fingers box half the Marines to send them somewhere, my fingers, I've trained them to instinctively hit 5 to check my barracks progress. I have all these macro flags set up in my play, so I'm like, move, click 5 AA. There, 2 Marines now getting built. Cool. I've now completed my macro necessities, and I can micro. The one thing I would emphasize really, really heavily is the thing that I will flat out say don't do is do not do flashy, very difficult to do micro. Just don't do it until you're a Master Leaguer. Just don't. I'm actually going to say that pretty hard. Don't do ultra flashy, meticulous, individually controlled type fanciness that QXC does in most of his games, because you're not QXC. It's hard to be as good as QXC, to be able to control that well and macro well at the same time, right? You just don't want to do it. Do the general broad controls, like, oh, there's tanks, I will spread my Marines out against them. Do that general broad control jazz, but don't become a hyper crazy controller the way DeMusliM was in that game. DeMusliM is allowed to do that because he's super freaking good. And it's okay. Just once you get to Masters, that's when I want you to start considering that sort of thing. So, I want to go ahead and make Fun Day Monday announcement. You may not expand your natural. Expand anywhere you please, and it's just not your natural. Send those to Monday at day9.tv. And, of course, for Newbie Tuesday, Jinro did some amazing mech play against MC's Protoss. Let's check out your attempts to do that. Send those to Tuesday at day9.tv of you trying to do Jinro's mech-style play against Protoss and having some struggles. We'll go ahead and check those out. And support me on the Shorty Awards! ShortyAwards.com. I want to win so freaking bad, and I'm in second place. And I need your help because you're all very beautiful today. Oh, bye-bye, bye-bye. I'm done with my daily. See ya.